Well, it's Friday the 19th of October, and I'm pleased to announce that I'm back on my bullshit. Venus is still in retrograde, and as Austin Coppock says, Mercury is meandering. It has some odd aspects to Neptune and Mars, which infuses thoughts and communications, yesterday and today, with an odd combination of Neptunian daydreams and martial goal orientation. This is episode 1826 of 301 Permanently Moved, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded and edited in 1 hour by me at the JMO. So I'm back from Unsound Festival in Krakow, and I'm just beginning to recover from the detox diet I adopted whilst I was there. My talk on conspiracy theories came over quite dense, but seemed to be well received by those in the audience. Meghan Merkel as a robot, billionaire vampires, Rumsfeldian epistemology, and the closing inversion of Euripides' question everything to believe everything, and why not both at the same time? The Beyond Cyberpunk panel went well too, perhaps my favourite quote coming from Lee Gamble saying, "So cyberpunk is more MDMA and solarpunk is more DMT?" The answer is yes, obviously. I think the audio is recorded for both of those panels, and I'll put a link to them as soon as they're online. I'd like to say a big thank you to all the festival buddies that I made while I was out there, everyone that hung out with me and that I broke bread with, in particular Lisa Blanning, the journalist, who hung out with me quite a lot, and there was really great conversation and a lot of hospitality. On my return, I rolled straight into Further Field's Decal or Decentralized Arts Lab workshop on Monday, and that was absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for this project to materialize. I think it's going to have a real impact on both the art world but the cultural world in general, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And the rest of the week has been spent hanging out and catching up with friends and family and doing lots of washing, so that's about me up to date. I should also mention and give a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Waller, who I bumped into in Krakow. Claire is someone I've known since I was 13, and I've been friends with Paul since I was about 14, 15, something like that, and I haven't seen them since 2011, and to bump into them in Krakow for 40 minutes was fantastic. Paul is the host of Holy Raw podcast, where he interviews a lot of bands from Holy Raw and the hardcore and metal scenes in general, and he also hosts Different Times podcasts with another friend from home, Daniel. I really recommend that podcast. They go through old issues of magazines like Metal Hammer and Melody Maker and talk about the news and the music that's being reported on at the time, because they're old bastards now and they get to do that because they were there the first time round. With all that out the way, I am going to talk about what's next for me, because I now have a huge chunk of time between now and the end of the year where I don't have that many commitments. I have a few. After that, I'll be going away for 2 months, and then I'll be returning kind of in February, early March, and wondering about what to do with the rest of my life. I already have a few things to do next year, which I'll talk about at some point. Got commitments for June and also September. But given the space weather yesterday and today, I thought I'd sit down and try and figure it out. So I broke out the Hexen 2.0 tarot. For those that don't know, Hexen 2.0 is a project that began in 1995 with Susan Triester when she created her alter ego, Rosalind Brodsky, a delusional time traveller that thought she was working for the Institute of Millitronics and Advanced Time Interventionality in the 21st century. The Hexen Tarot is a continuation of that project, with the foundation being the Macy conferences of 1946 to 1953. The deck itself essentially reflects the creation of the internet, built around the framework of the interconnected histories of the computer and the internet, cybernetics, counterculture, science fiction, and scientific projections of the future, government, military research programs, and social engineering. A criticism of the deck from the tarot community has been that the only reading that could be done with the deck lies solely in the area of the work that it represents. But strangely, it seems, this is also the work that I am doing. I can imagine a 3.0 version of this deck in 2055 containing my friends and also colleagues. Running through the Celtic Cross reading yesterday, I got the Sun as my first card, an image that displays the text "An End to Civilization" with anarcho-primitivism on one side and post-left anarchism on the other. As the reading unfolded, I had a visceral reaction both to the images on the cards that came, but also I now know what it is that must be done. This deck is now live for me, and it's a really interesting experience. There is now a route forward. Anyway, thanks for listening. You've been listening to episode 26 of Permanently Moved. a podcast in 301 seconds by me at the JMO.